Hey world, I'm Adam Levin from Chuck Levin's Washington Music Center, and today we are talking about the new Zoom PodTrak P4 podcast recorder, the most portable, affordable podcast recorder ever released, and it is an animal. This thing is a beast. Let's just go over what we got here, what it does, and why this is specifically made for the podcaster. For the podcasting world, this is an incredible tool. So from the top down, first off, we're running this thing fully off batteries. You can plug it in via USB for power, but right now we're running off 2 AA batteries, and it sounds incredible. It's got 4 mic inputs at the top with ridiculously good mic pre's. They put so much energy into these mic pre's. These things they have 70 dB of gain. These things are ready to juice up the most gain-hungry microphones out there, like a Shure SM7B or an EV RE20, things that you normally need to buy additional components to use to make them sound right. This recorder's got it built in. You don't need any additional equipment. 4 channels, so you can have 4 people locally on the recorder, and it has switchable phantom power on each one of the channels. So if you're going to use a condenser microphone, if you're in a studio setting and you want that crispier, that more detailed sound, and you can control the sound around you, great. It's got phantom power on each channel. But if you're in a more traditional podcast setting where we're generally using dynamic microphones like this new Zoom DM1, which is a knockout microphone, it's ready to rock for those too. And like I said, the idea that it has enough gain to juice these mics up is substantial. All right, and here we're listening to the EV RE20, one of the most legendary broadcast microphones on the planet, and normally a really gain-hungry microphone, something that usually needs a cloud lifter or a DM1, something to juice this thing up to sound right. We have it plugged straight into the PodTrak P4 by itself, and it sounds perfect. This usually would have a lot of hiss to it. You need to crank that mic pre up a lot to get it to sound right. The P4 just does its job. We're right at about 7 on the mic pre-gain, and it sounds perfect. PodTrak P4 can take it. It's great. Great mic, great preamp, great recording. That's all you need. You have individual gain controls for each one of the mic channels. So if I talk louder than you do, I can turn mine down a little bit so that we're level and we sound nice and even. And then going down here, you have individual mutes on each channel. So if someone's going to step away or they're gonna flip through their notes or something, you need to mute it. You can do individual mutes. We're muted. You can hear me now. We're back on each one of the channels. Also helps you just clear up noise if you have all the mics plugged in, but you're not going to use one. It just helps reduce the noise floor. Now down here, we have 4 assignable sound pads. So you can load in from an SD card, sound bites, sound clips, pre-recorded, interviews, music like this. It's awesome. You have a pre-recorded podcast. If you plan your podcast setup the whole way through, you could literally record a podcast from the beginning to the end with your intro, with your outro, with interviews, sound in between, fun sound effects, whatever you want to do. You can just plan it out and have them right at your fingertips. Super easy, and it has its own volume knob for the sound effects, so you can dial them in if you need to, make it sound just right so you're not distorting, you're not clipping. It just sounds good. Right now we're recording to an SD card, but this also can be used as a 2x2 USB interface. So if you're using this to be a streaming device, it can take the 4 channels in. It's just going to stream out 2 stereo channels, so it's going to be good for your stream. It's not going to multi-track record, but it will multi-track record to the SD card. So multi-track recording is important if you're going to be editing afterwards. If you're going to do some post-editing and you want to edit an individual track, maybe I sneeze while you're talking or something along those lines, the P4 can handle that. It's going to multi-track record to the SD card, and when you export it, you'll have an individual file for each person. But if you're going to use it for streaming, or you just want to use it for a Zoom call, and you're going to have multiple people potentially in the same room, this has a USB interface that can take audio in to the computer, as well as taking audio out of the computer. And what this can do is it can do mix minus, which is really cool. So that means that this can record the Zoom call onto the SD card, and it will not recycle that audio back to the computer. So there will be no echo. It does the echo cancellation, which is key. That used to be incredibly expensive technology. A lot of Zoom recorders have just started to use the technology, starting with the L8 that was their premier podcast recorder prior to the release of the P4. It does the mix minus, which is so clutch. I cannot explain how much that was rocket science previously, and now it is just built in. It's a setting in there. You just tab to it, and it's done. What also separates the P4 from a lot of other handheld recorders that you might use, Zoom made a lot of great ones that were used for many years, the H6, the H4n. This has 4 headphone outs built onto it. So each one of us gets our own headphone output with our own gain control. So previously you might have had to do a splitter or get a separate headphone amplifier. The P4's got it built in. It's done. I mentioned the mix minus and bringing in a Zoom call. Zoom also was pretty smart. It has a channel over here for phones, so you can use the TRRS connection coming out of your iPhone. So you use that little, I always got it with me, that little iPhone dongle. You always got one of these if you have an iPhone, or if you have an Android device. It's just that 3-ring connector that you see kind of used on phone cables or headphone cables. So if you can plug one of those in right into the device, and it will also take the phone call in and send the audio back out from the microphones straight into the phone call. So basically, I can be using my awesome Zoom microphone or my Shure microphone or my EV microphone on a Skype call or a Zoom call on my phone, sound great coming through, and record the audio coming back without any echo or issues. Super clutch. Now, Zoom thought that people might want to use Bluetooth or might not have their dongle around. So Zoom released alongside this the BTA2, which is a Bluetooth receiver. So you can just plug this straight in to these connections right over here, and you've just made this device Bluetooth enabled. So I can just connect my phone straight to this, and it'll see it like another channel, and then I can record it. Channel 3 on here can be used for phone calls. So I could just switch it over to the phone icon right here, and channel 3 is now recording from the phone. Channel 4 would be used for the USB. So you could literally be doing a Skype call in one channel, a phone call in another channel, and have a crazy, awesomely recorded on this incredibly tiny, affordable device at a level like you've never been able to do before. I don't like to mention price that often, but I think with this device, it's pretty remarkable how much gear they've crammed into one little package. It's $199. It is less expensive than many other handheld recorders, and from what I can think about, I think it's for 4 mic inputs and 4 headphone outputs, there's nothing else like this. So if you're thinking about starting a podcast and you need something that's going to solve a lot of problems for you, no matter which way you want to do it, you're not sure if you want to do streaming, you want to have guests over Skype or Zoom, you want to have guests that don't know how to Skype or Zoom and you want to use your phone to call them up, you have a solution for all those different things and a way to record them super easily at a really high level. That's it. Doesn't get much better than that. The Zoom PodTrak P4 is available at chucklevins.com. Check it out. $199. Get podcasting.